Hey there, Bookkeeping Side Hustle group. It's Kate. Thank you for being here this afternoon. We've got an exciting interview today about the I don't know, I called it a butt kicker earlier today, the butt kicking QBO ProAdvisor Advanced Certification Test. We've got Margie Remmers-Davis here. We have an interview with her from past January about her resource to help people pass the basic certification. But today we're going to talk about the advanced course. People have been waiting with bated breath for this. Yeah. So that's what this interview is about. Margie, glad you're here. Couple of admin items before I have you introduce yourself. Y'all, all the URLs and links and everything are either going to be in the description of this YouTube video, or they're going to be at bookkeeping-easy-QBO. It's right here underneath our faces in this graphic. So that's where I hope to keep the hub of resources. And in the future, if you're watching this and we've added some stuff, check out that URL, because Margie's not slow on creating content and helpful material. So we'll keep adding that there. And then, as I always say, I do have an affiliate link for her programs, and I always like to fully disclose that. Subscribe to my channel. And Margie, why don't you tell us about you and yourself and your upcoming YouTube channel, and people can subscribe to that too.
Yeah, so all sorts of super exciting stuff. So just in a nutshell, in my former life, I worked for a medical software company and did training and development for their software, traveled to hospitals around the country, and then taught our proprietary software then internally. And I got married, I had kids, I lived for 20 years, my life was idyllic. And then one day my husband said, oh, all those plans we made together, guess what? Not interested anymore. So I was like, the rug got pulled out from under me, and I was like, oh crap, what do I do now? And I thought that I would just be able to hop back into the world of training and development. And it turns out that they weren't interested in a rusty old trainer and a course developer. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to become a bookkeeper. And in order to do that, I, of course, like so many of your viewers, were like, okay, I've got to learn QuickBooks Online, and I'll get these certifications, and then I'll be good to go with my business. And as I was going through the Intuit training, I just kept thinking, oh my gosh, I could do such a better job than this. One of the hardest things for me is that I do not read. I do not learn by reading. That's just not my style.
Okay.
When you go through the Intuit training, it's just so, there are some videos in there, but it's just read. You're just supposed to read all of this stuff, and it's not hands-on, it's not interactive, and I was frustrated with it. But I decided I don't have time to chase that squirrel. I'm just going to focus on my business. And as I joined groups like yours to meet other bookkeepers and get started on my business, I saw that there was a huge need for training in this area. And so I said, okay, I'm going to do it. And so last September of 2020, I launched my first course for QuickBooks, the basic level ProAdvisor.
Right.
It flew off the shelf. That was, January was when you and I did interviewing, and I was like, oh yeah, I've trained dozens. Well, at this point I have over 800 students that have taken my courses, and so yeah, it's just exploded. It's just been amazing, and that's all I do now is help people get through these QuickBooks Online courses.
Well, and in that interview, y'all, that she's talking about in January, and she I think a lot of people would be able to just watch that interview and probably be able to get that basic cert on their own. We talked, it was definitely focused on the basic cert, and she was super generous with her tips and how the test is organized. And I would say, definitely don't even try the exam without watching that. It's like 30-minute interview packed full of tips. We are going to we're going to extract some QBO advanced cert tips as well at the end of today, after we get through the logistics of what her this new course is like. So stay tuned for that. It might be all you need, and y'all know that. I mean, Margie's the same way. Like we're not trying to like strong arm people into buying something they don't need. So pay attention for the tips at the end of this. So you told us about yourself. Thank you so much for that. And the motivation for creating the course was kind of like more about like because of your own experience. So that's really nice. There's all kinds of different ways people learn, and the Intuit material might be great for some people. Do you tell people to go through the Intuit material before this course? This is an unscripted question, but now I'm curious. Like, is yours a supplement or almost in place of the links we find in our ProAdvisor portals?
That is a great question. And so what I recommend is that you use my course to specifically get your certification. So if you are just trying to get through that certification, just trying to get that ProAdvisor status, then my course is going to help you get there. It's going to be fast and easy. The basic level takes about 4 hours to get through, and you'll have that certification. But the Intuit training goes deeper into some of the concepts. And so that Intuit training is valuable for later. So here's the thing about whether we're talking about the basic or the advanced, is that Intuit just provides you with a flood of information.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so much information to wade through. And even if I didn't have my course to get my certification. You didn't have my course to get your certification. So it's definitely possible. Yeah, I mean, it's possible to get your certification without my course. It's just that you have to wade through so much information. And honestly, you're going to forget it. In fact, in the introduction to my advanced course, I said, you are going to forget most of this, and you're going to end up with the certification, and you're going to say, well, I'm certified, but I don't really know.
Multi-currency. I don't know multi-currency. That's advanced. Yeah.
I took the test. And so the Intuit training is really helpful for getting, if you suddenly you have a multi-currency, then what you think is, oh, right, I remember learning that. Mm-hmm. And then you go back and then you dive in, and that's when you learn all the nitty-gritty details of it.
I've done it, and I've done it every year with my research, mm-hmm. which is just what's new. Sometimes I haven't used what's new even in the year that I've been doing it, and then if I encounter that, I'm like, oh, I remember that this was a new thing. That's why I bet in the training from the research they talk about it. So yeah, it is valuable. Like Intuit is a well-resourced company. Their materials are like, if you kind of know, once I feel like I'm almost equipped now to use Intuit resources, whereas when you first are tackling that cert and you're totally green to bookkeeping and bookkeeping software, you don't even know bookkeeping or the software, and then you're also kind of trying to learn, how does Intuit teach and where do I go to look for things? Like people don't even know how to sign up for the webinars. Like that's, so there's just a lot of stuff that you'll learn over time. Well, that's fantastic. Your course seems pretty unique. I don't think there are any others. This is, it's very specific. It's not teaching accounting. It's not teaching really even QBO. It's teaching how to get this certification, which is two different things. You don't become a QBO expert just by getting this cert. That comes with practice and real clients and that sort of thing, I think. But what else makes your course unique? Is there anything that's comparable?
So just to tag on what you just said, I always tell people, in fact, it's in my course, that what I'm teaching is just you getting your permit, right? So when you got your permit and you learned, you didn't actually know how to drive. You just knew things and you knew the rules of the road. So that's what the certification is. And so once you have the certification, then you have to go out and you have to practice and learn how to drive. And I'm also developing some supplemental materials to actually help you learn how to drive. I'm still not teaching bookkeeping. I'm still teaching. It's just the get more practice in the things that you are expected to know as a ProAdvisor. And that's my upcoming YouTube channel. So and that will be free. So just to tag on about that, But the thing that makes me unique in the marketplace, to answer your question directly, is that I'm the only one that is doing this. There are a ton of, and you have in your website, and a ton of resources of courses out there that are going to help you learn how to drive, right? That are going to help you become a good bookkeeper. But I am the only one that's teaching specifically what you need to know and how you need to understand the information and how to approach the questions. There are a few of the teachers have done that, have tried to do that, but the longer it is between when they got their own certification and now, the less relevant their
changes all the time.
It changes. The test, the format of the test changes. The format of the test has changed just from when I got mine last year. And I don't know how long it's been since you got yours, but the format of the test has changed. The way that they are handing you the questions has changed. So I am totally focused on keeping relevant. My updates, this is a common question I get as to whether my course is updated with the new material. And the answer is yes. Like, I am constantly updating just this morning, I uploaded a new exercise because the user interface had changed. And so I uploaded a new interface or a new exercise and emailed everybody, all of my students, and said, okay, exercise 5.3 has changed. So yeah.
Well, it's so important because there's two problems, like QBO changes and then the QBO Advanced Certification Exam changes. And those are two completely different things. I bet those developers don't even know each other's names.
Yes.
Like, it's two different software development teams.
Yes.
And that's a problem because they put that test out probably maybe once a year, once every 2 years. And then I don't know exactly what the clip is, but during that year, the interface of QBO is changing all the time. So, oh my gosh, yeah, and doesn't mean you're a dummy, like you're like kicking yourself because you're like, oh, I'm so dumb, I can't pass. It's like, no, like the buttons are not there. They're legitimately not there. That's fascinating. I'm curious. We got a handful of people listening. I know there's going to be a ton of people watching this later, but for those of you listening, how many of y'all have your basic cert? How many of y'all don't have either cert? And maybe how many of y'all have attempted the advanced but haven't been able to get it? Tell us where you are. I see Sierra's here, and she was in before we even went live, saying she's been waiting for this to hear from Margie. So glad you're here. Sierra, do you have either of these certs yet? And we'll move on. Talk about what's a successful student like the profile of a successful student, and then also maybe chime in with who is not the ideal student for this course.
So I will say that the person who is not, that's an easier question to answer. The person is somebody who just wants to be spoon-fed the answers and has no desire to actually learn the material. I have a very strict rule against cheating. And this is not, there are tons of resources. If you know where to find them, there are tons of resources that will just give you the answers to the test. But that doesn't mean that you know anything.
Right.
Exactly. So if you're just looking for a quick, I don't care about anything, I just want to have this cert under my belt, then I am going to turn you away.
Okay.
But the successful people, the people who really find my test, my course valuable is, well, number one, people like me who don't learn well from reading. So my course is entirely video based. There's all of the lessons are videos, and then there are hands-on exercises. You have quick notes so that you can follow along with the summary material. With the advanced course, excuse me, there are scenario tips to help, because that's one thing, we'll get to that later, that makes the advanced course different than basic, is being able to figure out different scenarios. So people who need that hands-on to actually do it, and people who, like me, need to hear it, that's going to be somebody who's going to be successful.
Okay.
Other people who have found it really helpful is non-native English speakers. Non-native English speakers have an extra hill to climb.
Yeah.
And I just take things and I make the language really easy because there are videos they can rewind and re-listen, and things are there. So non-native English speakers. And then people who suffer from severe test anxiety really appreciate, there's an add-on feature where you can get one-on-one coaching from me. And people who just, there are people who are just like, I'm a smart person, but when it comes to taking a test, I just freeze.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear that all the time. And people say, oh my gosh, Margie, if it weren't for you, I would not have gotten through this. And that's not fair. I mean, if this were a school and somebody had, severe problems, whether they're non-native English speakers, whether they are slower learners, whether they are that had severe test anxiety, there would be accommodations. Like there would, if you were in school, people would help you. And so this is no different. It's just in a professional setting. And so, yeah.
Well, thank you for doing that. And I want to encourage those people who, like, I have encountered so many people. I have the advanced cert, and I got it. Like I said, I got it when there was no help from someone like you, and I just carved off the time and I did it. It took a long time, but I don't think I ever felt like I wasn't going to pass. I didn't know that I was going to pass them all on the first try, but I'm here to tell you that it does not mean that I am an advanced QuickBooks Online user. And so there are those of you who know that you can, like, do backflips in this software. Just be encouraged, because there's people kind of like me who are able to slip through the cracks just because I'm not one of those ones who struggle with the test anxiety. I struggle. I'll struggle with QuickBooks, where you will not. And so getting that cert is awesome. And y'all, I'm thinking about now. I want to chime in. There's a video we did on this channel I think it's called "Optimizing Your QuickBooks Online ProAdvisor Profile," where Bill Von Fumetti taught us about how to use that as a lead generation tool, and how getting this certification really helps you in the rankings for your ProAdvisor profile. And that interview was like mind-blowingly good. And just getting this cert gets me inquiries from clients that never in a million years would I be interested in or wanting to serve. But I get emails because I have this cert. So, one client is gonna getting one client because you have this is gonna more than make up for like the time and effort that you put into getting it. So, tell us a favorite student success story.
Oh my gosh, was I supposed to prepare one of those?
Well, you said so. You don't have to. Is there anyone that just jumps to mind that like conquered that hill? It's okay. We can move on if we don't want to answer that one.
I get so many I get so many positive things that I hear from former students, and I love to hear. I've had so many students who they get their certification and they're like, I'm crying, like I'm so excited. Like, and some people have been locked out, and so now they have a chance to do it. I've taken this test 5 times, and finally I can move on with my life. Because I do the coaching personally, just this afternoon I was working with a student, and when you're on a chat thing, you don't, it could be anybody, right? So he was like, is this really Margie? And I said, yep, this is really Margie. And he said, wow, I'm chatting with a celebrity.
A bookkeeping celebrity. Who would have ever thought, right?
Yeah, I just love so much hearing the stories of people who have struggled for so long, and finally found a way that they can learn the material that makes sense to them, that they can actually do it hands-on and see what works. And I'm sorry I didn't prepare a specific person story.
No, that's fine. I'm trying to streamline these course interviews, and I know some other folks have wanted to answer that question. So I obviously you've had a lot of success. We've seen, y'all can search in the Facebook group, y'all, people's positive responses about Margie helping them over the hump. And then you only have to take a short little recert every June, and it's the burden is so much less after you do it the first time. So, well, let's talk about the nitty gritty here. How much does your course cost?
All right, it's $495.
Okay.
But your viewers have a coupon to get $100 off of that. So if you use the coupon HUSTLE with a capital H, and then you get $100 off. So it's $395.
Thanks so much for doing that. And then the basic course is still $99. Is that right? With $20 off with that same code, y'all.
Yep, exactly. Exactly.
You got to do the basic before you can be eligible for the advanced. You can't go straight to the advanced, right?
Yes, that is true. You have they're not fully incorporated, so you have to do the you can't even access the test unless you have your basic certification. Mm-hmm.
All right. So I promised everyone I would twist your arm for some general tips. And you're going to be, like she said earlier, she's going to have a lot of this information on a YouTube channel, which we're going to make sure to link to and get information about how to find more of her. But for now, let's talk about the advanced test and help as many people as we can. What are some of the key items you would like to make sure people know about this test? You have obviously become probably one of the premier experts in like all of accounting land about this exam as much as you've been living and breathing it.
Right.
So what can you share with us to help set people up for success?
Yeah. So I really wanted to share what is different between the basic test and the advanced test. So first of all, we have to think about the functionality of the test, and that is going to be different dependent on when you got your basic certification. Like we've said, you have to have the basic certification before you can even access the advanced test. Okay. And if you took your basic test, a long time ago, it worked a certain way, and more recently it's now, but a lot of people are scared of the advanced test, so it's been a long time since they got their basic. So here's a key thing that you need to know is that in the olden days, before November of last year, the Intuit training perfectly matched the test. So there was one module that you learned all about, say, multi-currency, and then you took a test on that material. You took a test on multi-currency. Okay?
That's what I had.
Yep, and that's what I had too. And that is no longer the case. So there is no longer a one-to-one relationship between the Intuit training and the section test. So there are in the basic level, there are 8 training modules and there are 6 section tests. In the advanced training, in the advanced level, there are there are 10 training modules and there are 5 section tests. Now you may think to yourself, oh, well, that just means 1 and 2 are on the first test and 2 and 3 and 4 are on the second test, but that's not the case. Okay. So what they've done is, so when Kate and I took our test, each test had a different number of questions. So for the basic level, there was one section that just had 6 questions, and there was another section that had 13 questions. Well, what they've done now is they've taken their training material and they've evened it out so that you have the same number, roughly the same number of questions for each section test. Okay. So that they take approximately the same amount of time. That was their logic in doing that. But what that means is that the training material doesn't match up. And so my freebie for you guys listening is if you would like so I have put together an outline for you so that you can see for each section test of the advanced training, what material is covered, what subjects are covered on that test. So if you don't want to get my course and you just want to use the Intuit training, you can at least have this so you know what to study in the Intuit before you take the test.
Tell us how to get that. This is awesome. I don't even know where to go. How do we get it?
So you can just email Margie at fastandeasyqbo.com.
Margie, y'all, spelled right under her name.
Right, Margie. I just realized I haven't set that email box up yet, so please wait until after this call to email it. If you get an email saying that you haven't gotten it yet, then
no worries. And if at some point,
yeah,
if at some point it's more automated or whatever, I would just keep looking below, y'all, for this description, because this video is going to be living on, and look below for the way to contact her if it changes or updated, if it changes, or the way to get this resource gets updated. So thank you so much for sharing that. And also, y'all, remember that you can always find her on her YouTube channel, which will also be linked to below. I want to help support her in that, because as a fellow video creator,
right. So
that's awesome. Thank you for that. What else?
So that's huge. Another thing that's changed that's really important is all of the questions are just like, well, most of the questions are multiple choice. Now in the advanced, you will have to do math, and there are times when they just give you a box and you have to put in a number that was the result of your math equation. So occasionally that, but for most of the time, it is just like the basic test where it is a radio button, which is just one answer is correct, or check boxes, which means there's multiple answers. So they'll say like, name 3 reasons why blah, 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 and you have to check 3 of them, right? So it used to be that the test interface would stop you from having the wrong number of check marks. So if you if you put in 2 check marks, it wouldn't let you go on. And so, and if you had 4 check marks, it wouldn't let you go on. Well, now there is no such check. So you could hit 1 check mark and need 3 and still hit the next button and get that wrong. So just be super, super careful when you are taking that test. If it says to check 2, 3, 4, whatever it is, that you have that many checked. So that's also super important.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the differences as far as the structure of the test. Let's talk about the difference in the content of the test. So there are in the testing world, or in the Intuit's testing world anyway, there are 3 types of questions. The first type of question is what I call a keystroke question. A keystroke question is where do you find X, whatever. So let's just say I'll just pick something. This isn't necessarily a test question. I'm just going to say, how do you start an invoice? Okay. So the answer to that is you click the new button, and then you select invoice, right? So that's a keystroke question. The answer is the specific keystrokes that you select. Okay. The basic test is about half keystroke questions. And the way to know the answer to those keystroke questions is to go into the sample company and actually do the clicking, right? One of Kate's really good tips is to eliminate the wrong answers, right? So that, and this is a super easy way to do that, is if you click the new button and you don't see the option there, then that's not the answer to the question, okay?
Mark it out.
No, yeah. So those are keystroke questions. The basic test is about half keystroke questions. The advanced test only has a handful of keystroke questions, maybe 1 or 2 keystroke questions. The second type of question is a content, what I call a content question. A content question is just something that you have to know about a concept. Okay, so let's say we'll use animals. What are 3 varieties of bunny rabbits? Okay, so then you would have to know that there are all these varieties of bunny rabbits. You'd have to have a list somewhere. Then you would go to the question and you say, okay, this one's on my list, this one's on my list, this one's on my list. Okay, so for content questions, those are very simple to go back through, if you're just using the Intuit course, then you just go back through the lesson and you want to find out, like, what are 3 reasons you would want to use X feature. Then you look in and you do that. If you have my course, then we provide you with an outline. We call it Quick Notes, where all of the content of the Intuit training is reduced kind of down to Cliff Notes. And you have an outline of what everything is. So you could say, what are 3 reasons to, I don't know, reconcile bank records? And you it's not necessarily a question on the test. I just made that up. So you would go and you would look in your document, look in your notes or whatever to find the things, okay? So the basic test is entirely keystroke and content questions. The advanced test introduces a new type of question, which is a scenario question. A scenario question, and the thing I always really try and hammer in with my students, and this is one of the reasons why we don't want people who just want to cheat and just have the answer, is because you have to remember that the certification you are getting is called ProAdvisor. So you are learning to become an advisor. Intuit wants you to be their extended family, right? They want you to be able to advise your clients when there are situations that need troubleshooting. They would rather they go to you than go, call their help desk. They want you to be their fingers and toes, right?
They want the business owner to call you rather than go to a different bookkeeping software. If we can't advise them and they get knotted up, they're going to leave and go back to paper or Excel or whatever.
That's true too. So troubleshooting situations, or situations where they have their business runs a certain way and they might need a particular feature. And so you can say, oh, ta-da, multi-currency is gonna solve this for you, or whatever it is, or this is how you manage inventory, or this is how you could track project spending, that kind of thing. So the scenarios are, here's a scenario. How are you going to help the business owner? And that is that is what makes the advanced course so difficult, is because you have to really know, under the hood how QuickBooks works. And if it's troubleshooting, like how they got into this situation, what to do to fix it, what workflows and processes to put in place so this doesn't happen in the future.
Yep. Okay. I remember a lot of those scenario questions with funny business made up business names.
Yeah, exactly. And the final tip that I will give you is that there are some questions that are that seem like scenario questions because they're really long. They'll have ABC company did this, that, and the other, and this thing, and then this happened, and then this happened, and this happened. But then when you get down to the final question, it was really just a content question. So, so an example would be XYZ company had this happen and that happened, and they have this many locations, and they're charging sales tax for this, and whatever. And then outside the company, whatever. What are 3 reasons why you might recommend XY feature? So when you read through all of that, you realize, oh, I don't actually have to solve anything. I just have to know the 3 things about that feature.
That's what's so helpful about you breaking it down. That's like a test anxiety problem. That's like you get hit with the wall of text and you melt versus I know this versus that, and it's like not a quick. It's not whether you know QuickBooks. It's can you decipher and dig into this the syntax that they're using on this wall of text. So these tips are super. I mean, that tip alone, just like always make sure, just keep those in first. Every question, say which of these 3 categories is it, and then remember what we've just learned here, and then apply how to tackle it. This has been awesome. we've got, if y'all, if there's any other praise or thanks, please share them. We have Laura Cruz says she got her basic cert today. Charles Mull has commented several times saying that basically you helped him exactly through what he needed to do. He's gotten both certs, so that's great. I have one kind of administrative question. I know that the advanced cert isn't out that long. It's been like 3 weeks, is that right? I know you had beta testers and stuff, but it's still new. What are you seeing is the time it takes for this? Because I'll share how long it took me after you answer this question because there's this idea of the brand that you created for this testing is Fast and Easy QBO, and I know some people are going to be like, "What are you smoking, lady? Like, there's nothing fast or easy about this at all." And I remember you saying, "Well, faster and easier."
Yes.
But
Right.
you said the basic you can be done in 4 hours. What are you seeing your students at right now, averaging time?
So that's a really great question. So because it's video based, I know precisely how long it takes to watch the videos. And then because I had beta testers, they timed themselves doing the exercises. So I have a really good idea of how long it takes to get through the material. So getting through all of the material with the videos and the exercises takes about 8 hours, which is nothing to sneeze at, but it's also not, it's probably a lot shorter than what it took you to get through. It's certainly a lot shorter what it took me to get through. So it takes about 8 hours to get through the course materials. That is not including the time it takes. I do give scenario tips in the course. So like in this question, you make sure that you know how to use XYZ feature. And so the time I say that takes about 20 minutes, but that really, I have no idea of knowing. So you could definitely do it in a weekend. I wouldn't recommend it because it is just a lot of material. It's just a lot of material. And so there are 5 sections. If you do 1 section a day, you could easily do that. You could easily knock it out in a week in your spare time and be done with it and have that off your shoulders for sure.
I did 1 test a day. When I had 10 when I did it. It was 10 exams. 10, it was a module, and I knew to take study and then test. And I really try to only work in the mornings most of the time during the school year when my kids were in school. And it was like a morning for each of those, like 3 hours for each test. Yeah. I did pass the first time, but so I don't know, like by going slow, and I would go slow on the study and I go slow on the exam too, looking for those tricks. I didn't know that I was reading a scenario that was really a content question. I didn't have that knowledge, but I was still banging my head against the wall and going very slow. So, so definitely faster and easier, people. And
it's still a lot to soak in. Yeah.
And is it still 3 pass chances and then you're locked out and you don't have to repeat any modules? Like once you pass it, then you only have to redo the one you failed. Is that right? Okay. Yes. Very cool. Well, the interesting thing about this, if you're watching this, in 2023, there's a good chance the Intuit certifications are going to be different. And so use this as a starting place to be introduced to Margie. If you want to go straight to her paid resources, do that. Those links will be below. But if not, she is planning on becoming, it sounds like to me you're wanting to become like this certification guru by putting out content that way. So you'd be able to listen in on really helpful general stuff like the 3 kinds of questions and then scenario questions too, which you'll have to pay attention a little more to to get that down. But thank you so much. Last thing I wanted to say was how people get in touch with you, but we'll have your YouTube channel, and you said Margie at fastandeasyqbo.com is your email.
Margie at fastandeasyqbo.com is to request the outline. That's all that you do. So to get hold of me, my company is Crystal Clear Cash Flow. So Margie at crystalclearcashflow.com is to get a hold of me. And then if you have any questions about the, the course before or after you've purchased it, then we now have a support team because I am growing so fast.
Yeah.
You can email support@fastandeasyqbo.com.
That's fantastic. And you're very active in the bookkeeping side hustle group, y'all. So y'all can feel free, like when you pass, please shout it out. Like it's a big deal. And
Yes.
the certification will help you get your own clients. It will help you get the jobs at Intuit. I'm almost certain, although they would never say it's going to guarantee that. But if y'all want those QuickBooks Live jobs, this would certainly help with that. It's a really pretty tangible way to see, I think, getting a cert and growing. But you're going to move up in the directory. It's very, very few ProAdvisors go on to become advanced ProAdvisors. I think that's still very true, right? Like
it's something like 2 to 3%.
Yeah. So,
really small.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Thanks to everyone who's watching live and chiming in. Laura Cruz is asking about how to request the outline. Again, we'll answer one last time. Email Margie at FastAndEasyQBO to request that outline. There'll be a link to it below, which I'll add as soon as we're done here. So,
and give me a minute. I haven't set it up yet, so give me a minute to set it up.
Perfect. All right, everyone. Again. Shout out your. Congratulate yourself in the groups. We can all give you virtual high fives whenever you do this. And if you need her help, and you want to move faster and easier, buy her course. Use the discount code HUSTLE, capital H, USTLE. And then if you are fairly confident, just keep in touch with her, watch her material, watch her activity online, and you might be able to just use the Intuit material combined with her just sort of general free material. So thanks so much, Margie, and for always being here and being such a support of this group. And we'll see you in the Facebook group and talk to everybody later.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.